Hello and welcome to History Buff. Today we'll be exploring the mysteries of Sherborne Old Castle and its ghosts. The historic castle is located in Dorset, England, and is said to be one of the most haunted places in the region. So let's dive right in. Sir Walter Raleigh's cursed abode. During the reign of Elizabeth I, Sir Walter Raleigh was en route from London to Plymouth. But when he spied the soaring walls of Sherborne Castle, he fell head over heels in love with it. According to Sir John Harrington in his New Antiquary, as Sir Walter was exploring the castle grounds, plotting how he might possess them, his horse suddenly stumbled. Raleigh's very face, which was then thought to be a very good face, ploughed up the earth where he fell. Sherborne Castle had been built in the 12th century by one of the great fighting bishops of the age, Roger of Salisbury. By the time Raleigh began casting covetous eyes upon its hallowed walls, it was still owned by its successors in the See of Salisbury. A subtle hint to a good Queen Elizabeth. Unperturbed by a curse placed on the property by a former Bishop of Salisbury, St. Osmond, which threatened destruction to anyone who removed the castle's ecclesiastical hands, Sir Walter Raleigh began dropping hints to the Queen that she might like to reward his services with the gift of his dream home. With his persistence paying off, and in January 1592, he was awarded a 99-year lease on Sherborne Castle. A secret marriage. Almost immediately, the dark shadow of St. Osmond's curse fell upon him. Unbeknown to the Queen, Sir Walter Raleigh had secretly married Elizabeth Throckmorton, one of her cherished and jealously guarded maids of honour. On the 29th of March 1592, Elizabeth Throckmorton, aka Bess, gave birth to a son. Shortly afterwards, court gossip brought their indiscretion to the Queen's attention. According to a courtier, the Queen was most fiercely incensed and threatens the most bitter punishment to both offenders. Having incurred the infamous royal wrath, the proud parents were soon languishing in the Tower of London, where such was Raleigh's despondency that he attempted suicide, and was only saved by the timely intervention of an official who wrenched the dagger from his grip. Raleigh was released from captivity in September, when he was called upon to quell the riotous looting among sailors at Dartmouth. But once his mission was accomplished, he was returned to the Tower, where he and Bess remained until their release just before Christmas in 1592. His return to the castle. The couple returned to Sherborne Castle, where, now in disgrace, Raleigh began embellishing their rural retreat. But the cost of modernising the old castle proved exorbitant, and so the family abandoned it and built instead a suitably impressive home in Sherborne's old deer park. It was here, as he enjoyed a pipe of tobacco beneath the spreading branches of a great oak, that one of Raleigh's servants is said to have doused him with a pitcher of beer in a mistaken belief that his master's beard was on fire. Lord Cobham's plot. Although Sir Walter Raleigh would later win his way back into Elizabeth I's favour, the curse struck again when her successor James I ascended to the throne. In July 1603, Raleigh was implicated in a plot instigated by Lord Cobham to replace James with his cousin, Lady Arabella Stuart. Shortly afterwards, he was again confined to the Tower of London, although this time the charge was far more, it was high treason. Found guilty at its subsequent trial, Raleigh was sentenced to death, and although his life was spared, he remained behind the grim walls of the forbidding fortress for the next 13 years. His beloved newly developed estate at Sherborne, including the old castle, was given to James's favourite, Robert Carr, the Earl of Somerset. a new owner. No sooner had he moved in than the St. Osmond's curse blighted the new owner of Sherborne Castle. Robert Carr had fallen in love with the beautiful Frances Howard, the child bride of Robert Devereux, the Earl of Essex. Wishing to save herself for Carr, Frances Howard consulted a quack astrologer who provided drugs that would render her husband impotent. For 3 years, the unfortunate Devereux struggled to consummate his marriage, before his inability to do so led to divorce from Frances Howard. In 1613, following the King's intervention, Frances Howard was at last free to marry Robert Carr. But Carr's mentor, Sir Thomas Overbury, had made no secret of his dislike for this Frances and her ambitious family, and urged his protégé to reconsider. Sent to the Tower. Sir Thomas Overbury had however underestimated the influence that Frances, and more particularly her uncle Henry Howard, wielded at court. Following another intervention by James I, Sir Thomas was sent to the Tower of London. Here Frances Howard, assisted by a compliant gaoler, Gervase Elwes, began supplying him with delectable nibbles such as jellies and tarts, each one lovingly mixed in her own hand, and all loathingly laced with poison. Sir Thomas Overbury died in excruciating pain. The Howards managed to keep secret their involvement in his death for almost a year, but then, with rumours gaining ever wider circulation, Elwes panicked and confessed everything. The subsequent scandal severely discredited the court of James I, and he quickly withdrew his favouritism from Robert Carr, who not only lost Sherborne Castle, but also, as if reiterating the power of St. Osmond's curse, he found himself incarcerated in Raleigh's newly vacated apartments at the Tower of London. Fortunately for him, his social standing and previous place in James' affections meant that he was spared the dishonour of execution. A disastrous escapade. Raleigh had been released just a week earlier, having persuaded James to send him on a voyage to bring back treasure from Guyana. Following almost a year of preparation, Raleigh set sail in 1617. However, the escapade was a disaster, marred throughout by illness and crew mutinies, ending in a catastrophic clash with the Spanish, during which Raleigh's own son, also named Walter, was killed when he disobeyed the king's orders and led a charge against the citadel at St. Thome. The Digby family take up residence. By the time of his execution, Raleigh's beloved Sherborne estate had been sold to Sir John Digby, whose descendants still own it today. During the Civil War, the original 12th century stronghold of Bishops of Salisbury was reduced to a ruin, and the nearby lodge, built by Raleigh in 1594, assumed the title of Sherborne Castle, a haunted ruin. Today, the crumbling walls of Sherborne Old Castle provide a sharp contrast to the stately grandeur of what is now the family home of the Wingfield Digbys. It is to the grounds hereabouts that the proud spirit of Sir Walter Raleigh makes an annual pilgrimage on St. Michael's Eve, on the 29th of September. He is said to roam the grounds of Sherborne Old Castle, the place where, despite him being in disgrace, he spent some of his happiest and most settled years. Another commonly reported ghost is that of a young girl who has been seen wandering around the ruins. It is said that she is the ghost of a daughter of a former bishop who died in the castle during the 16th century. The castle is also the inhabitant of a medieval knight who is often seen in full armour riding on horseback through the castle grounds. Legend has it that this spirit is a knight who was imprisoned in the castle for 13 years. It is believed that he is still searching for a way to escape. There are also reports of a ghostly lady who haunts the castle's gatehouse. She is said to be the ghost of Lady Elizabeth, the wife of Sir John Hornsey, who was imprisoned and later executed in the castle for plotting against King Henry VIII. Sherborne Old Castle is not just an historic site, but also a place filled with legends and ghostly stories. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, there is no denying that the castle has a mysterious and eerie atmosphere. So if you're ever in Dorset, be sure to visit Sherborne Old Castle and experience this haunted past for yourself. Thank you for watching History Buff. Please remember to like and subscribe, and click the notification bell to be reminded of any future uploads from the channel.